Hello students, this is the last part of our chapter Democratic Rights. In the previous lectures we covered the basic concepts of rights, the fundamental rights that our constitution provides, and the first four rights in our constitution, that are the right to equality, the right to freedom, the right against exploitation, and right to freedom of religion. Today we'll continue with the next fundamental right, which is cultural and educational rights. This right is basically meant for the minority groups in our society. Usually what happens is that if certain group is in minority, then most of the time their rights and their culture and their language and their way of living is overpowered by those of in majority, and sometimes it is also witnessed that they are suppressed by the majority section. So to help these minority sections, the government provides us with the cultural and educational right, that is, the people belonging to the minority section have the right to promote and promulgate their culture, language, and customs. For this, the government allows these minority sections to conserve their language and culture, and for this they can establish institutions, they can establish educational bodies, and also government provides them with supplements and aids to secure and protect their customs. We can take a very common example for this. The native languages of the tribals, the culture that they used to follow is, with the modernity, with the upgradation of the lives of the people, is somewhere vanishing from the existing society. I'm sure most of the students would relate with this, that at certain times our parents or our grandparents, they use some words which feels like that they are using it for the first time, or we are hearing that word for the first time. So these kind of examples can be taken, and if we do not give them an extra protection and extra help for conservation, then with the time they will vanish from our culture, which will not be a good sign. So they are provided with an extra protection and are promulgated with the help of the government. The next and the most important fundamental right is the right to constitutional remedies. Why I call this the most important fundamental right can be explained with the help of an example. We all enjoy the right to freedom, we all enjoy the right to equality. Everybody is equal, but if someone comes and breaches into your freedom and does not consider you equal to him, then what will you do? If someone comes and tells you that you are not from my religion, or you do not come from the same background as I do, so you have no right to live here and you need to leave, then what will you do? If rights are provided to the citizen, there should also be a procedure to protect those rights as well. we respect these fundamental rights, we can inculcate these fundamental rights only when they are enforced by the Constitution. So, we have the right to constitutional remedies. In this right, all the other rights are made effective, and if any violation of the rights is witnessed, then we can seek a remedy of it through the judiciary. This fundamental right even gives us the power that if the legislature, the executive, or any other authorities, if they make a law or pass a law which is interfering in any of our fundamental right, then we can challenge that law in the judiciary and can force them to cancel that particular law. And the good thing about this is that the crime or the law should not be of any personal grudge or individual effect to go against. That is, if any decision taken by the government through legislature or executive is not appropriate and is violating your fundamental rights, then you can claim an explanation and a remedy. Also, it should not be necessarily of your personal interest, it can be of a social or public interest. Also, this is known as public interest litigation, or in Hindi we call it Janhit Yachika. I'm sure you must have heard this word recently in many cases going on. So, these were the basic 6 fundamental rights mentioned in our constitution, but the rights of the people are not just confined to these 6 rights only. With the development of our democracy, different ideas, different situations that the country went through and experienced, these rights have continuously been expanding and adding to the power of the people in our democracy as big as ours. For example, with the right to freedom, we have given ourselves the right to demand even the government of its actions. We have the right to information. We have the right to privacy, that is, the government, even though it is sitting at the supreme level, cannot interfere with our private lives. They cannot search our houses or they cannot tap our phone without permission. We have expanded the right to life at the same time as well. With the expansion of the right to life, just living is not fulfilling the idea of life. By this right, we have also been demanding the rights of availability of facilities like pure drinking water, sanitation facilities, good health services, educational facilities, availability of sufficient food, and availability of close by medical services, etc., which allows a person to lead a respectable, normal life. And a very recent one, that is every child which is below the age of 14 has earned the right to education, and the government provides them with free education facilities. These kind of rights, they add into the fundamental rights of the citizen and helps into improving the quality of the democracy that we are living in. So with this, we finish our chapter, which was another step into learning of how a democratic system functions and how it is a better option than a non-democratic one.